Hello, everybody. Welcome. Let me turn this off. Sorry. I'm Skip Bellsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that it's not gray and rainy right now, which is awesome. But it's a little cold, a little chilly, but that's okay. I have my jacket. So that was what we just watched was silent, unfortunately, because we didn't find a soundtrack for it. It was how to make a type slide, and it was brought to us by the Sears Studio. So I don't know if this was meant for I'm sure it was meant for internal use with the graphics arts departments at various Sears across the United States. And this was all. So I took graphic design when I was at NC State's School of Design, and basically we were in the transition. They had just come out with laser printers and the Mac, those little Macs, and so there was still this kind of photochemical process that was being done in doing type. We used the Letraset, the rub-on letters. We also used a Verityper, which was this very expensive thing where you would type in a column and then it would print out this photographic thing of high quality. And many of my professors balked at the idea of desktop publishing. They said, no, the quality is not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And they basically screwed people that I went to school with. I actually learned how to use PageMaker and Illustrator and what became Photoshop and all that stuff. So I was actually able to get jobs after I graduated. So there you go. Anyways, let's learn about preventative lifeguarding. Enjoy.
The swimmer out too far in a strong undertow. He's too tired to make it back to the beach. At popular beaches like here at Daytona Beach, Florida, each lifeguard is part of a well-organized and efficient team which can mobilize in seconds to deal with emergencies. Constant vigilance and good communications along the beach bring a support team to help with the rescue. An excellent demonstration by skilled lifeguards. The community swimming pools and lakes in your town may seem tiny compared to that huge beach in Daytona. But the principles of effective lifeguarding are the same everywhere.
Flag is down.
You may not need two-way radios to communicate between guards. But you better have a telephone handy to contact the rescue squad, a doctor, or the police department. And those emergency numbers should be posted right here by the phone.
I can trip if I rode
You may not need rescue trucks to get around your facility. But you should have rescue equipment ready to handle emergencies. A first aid kit is a must. Blankets, stretchers, backboards, reaching poles and lines also should be handy. And of course, guards should be thoroughly trained in first aid skills. Your guard towers may not have to be 4 stories high, but guards should be stationed on elevated stands high enough to see their assigned areas clearly. And it's important to be able to see clearly below the surface, too. If you can see a 7-inch black disc on the bottom of the deepest part of the pool, you'll be able to easily spot any swimmers at that depth. This is also a good indication of the cleanliness of the water. To help keep the water sparkling, clean, and sanitary, swimmers should be required to take a hot soap shower before entering the pool area. And this rule should be strictly enforced by pool staff. Most people think of lifeguards as lifesavers, ready to leap into the water at a moment's notice to bring back swimmers in trouble. And this is an important part of the job. But the main function of the lifeguard is to prevent accidents and injuries. Preventive lifeguarding involves strict enforcement of pool rules and an awareness of the danger areas and hazards at the swimming site. Ladders can be danger areas that demand special attention. They should never be used as gymnastic equipment, and guards should be quick to enforce rules against this sort of activity. Running on the decks is an obvious hazard that should be prohibited. Guards can often use situations like this as a way to point out safety rules to swimmers.
Now, you boys were running. Everybody said stop running. Well, I want you to look at this. See what's happened to this young boy. Running around the deck, he slipped, and he's ready to fall down and crack the back of his head. Maybe hurt himself badly. Also, you want to be considerate of other people, because in running around, you may not fall, but you may run into somebody else and hurt them. And you wouldn't want that to happen, would you? We don't want you to get hurt, because we want you to come back every day, all summer long, and swim. But we want you to swim and have fun, and swim safely.
Diving areas are another built-in hazard at most pools. For everyone's protection, the diving area should be physically separated from the swimming area. Here it is done with a lifeline. No swimmers should be allowed in the diving area. Hazards in the diving areas can be minimized by being sure that only one person at a time is allowed on the diving board. One bounce to the dive, with all dives made from the front of the board. All divers should be required to swim directly to the exit point before the next dive is made. Diving from the pool deck into the diving area is dangerous.
Hey son, don't dive in front of the board.
And alert guards will prevent it. The same goes for diving into shallow water.
See, it's only 3.5 feet deep here. Even with a racing dive, you may hit the bottom of the pool. So if you want to make that kind of a dive, go down where it's about 6 feet deep. That way it'll be a lot safer, all right?
Even well-designed swimming facilities have blind spots, areas which are difficult for the guard to see because of the sun angle or physical obstructions. It's a good idea for the guard to send an aide to keep an eye on swimmers in blind spots. By the way, one of the most often neglected blind spots is right under the guard stand. At camps and lakes that have organized groups entering and leaving the waterfront area, a tag check-in system is strongly recommended. Each swimmer is assigned a number, and as he enters the waterfront, he places his tag in the in column. When he leaves, he puts it back in the out column. This system gives guards and instructors an easy and immediate way of accounting for all swimmers. Just as pools should have the diving area separated, camp waterfronts should have separate areas designated for different water activities. This well-designed waterfront has a diving area at the far end and enough swimming areas of different depths for several classes to be carried on simultaneously. Lifeguards are always on duty.
Class, count off by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
11, 12, 13.
Now stand next to your buddy.
During swimming classes, and whenever possible during free swimming, instructors and lifeguards should insist on use of the buddy system.
Count off.
Frequent buddy checks like this keep swimmers aware of the importance of having someone in the water with them to help out if necessary.
Group number 1, come back.
No lifeguard can maintain peak alertness hour after hour without breaks. That's why built-in relief periods should be a part of every lifeguard team. A 10-minute break each hour with periodic rotation of assigned positions is one commonly used system. Whatever procedure is used, a lifeguard may never leave his assigned area until he is properly relieved.
Thanks.
In these few minutes, we've tried to point out some of the ways lifeguards can prevent accidents. A good look around your swimming facility will probably suggest to you many common sense ways you can put these techniques to practical use. In spite of all your efforts, though, accidents and water emergencies occasionally will happen. And when they do, the lifeguard becomes a lifesaver. Specific techniques for handling water emergencies are covered in other films in this series. The job of lifeguarding is not glamorous or romantic. At times, it can be monotonous, dull, and exhausting work. But if you approach the job with a professional attitude and keep up to date on the latest skills and techniques, you'll find meaningful rewards, and you'll earn the respect of your colleagues as well as the swimmers you're there to protect.
Yeah. That was great. It has that song, too, that I think it shows up in other Red Cross lifeguarding films. Very exciting. All right. Let's learn about an industrial lake port. Buffalo, New York. Enjoy.
The 5 Great Lakes form a natural waterway which serves the most important agricultural and industrial region of North America. At the eastern end of Lake Erie is the city of Buffalo, a principal lake port and one of the country's leading industrial centers. To the port of Buffalo, a large fleet of lake boats brings cargoes of wheat, iron ore, and other products of the Midwest. Day or night, these ships can find their way safely into the deep channel of the harbor because of the lighthouse which stands at the entrance of the port. This beacon light can be seen far out on Lake Erie beyond the harbor. Tom McKenna is the lighthouse keeper. He is a sailor in the United States Coast Guard, which maintains and operates all the lighthouses in our... They are interested in the ships of the Great Lakes, as well as in the lighthouse itself.
Can we come up now? Okay, come on up.
On their way to the tower, the scouts say hello to Steve Randolph, another sailor who helps Tom take care of the lighthouse. The Sea Scouts want to know why the harbor is considered so important. Tom explains that the port of Buffalo is a gateway for the products of the entire Great Lakes region, which are sent to the eastern part of the United States. But the lake boats also bring raw materials for the industries of Buffalo itself. Electric power for Buffalo's factories and homes, and for the lighthouse, comes from Niagara Falls, which is only 23 miles away. The tremendous flow of water running down from Lake Erie into the Niagara River is used to make electricity in powerhouses below the falls. This source of cheap electric current so near to Buffalo has helped to make the city an industrial center. Communities much farther away than Buffalo are also supplied with hydroelectric power made at the falls. The electric power runs the machines in Buffalo's factories, which process the raw materials that are brought into its port. Buffalo has become a large city because it is located on the Great Lakes and is connected with the Atlantic coast through natural lowland routes. Buffalo is not only an industrial lake port, but it is also a railroad center, which is second only to Chicago in importance. Following the natural lowland routes, railways link Buffalo with the big cities of the eastern United States and of Canada. 12 railroad systems connect with each other at Buffalo. Altogether, passenger trains and freight trains enter and leave the city nearly 100,000 times each year. Buffalo's location on so many good transportation routes has encouraged many industries to develop here. Buffalo's factories turn out a great variety of products. Almost every type of industry can be found in the city. The largest of these is the milling of flour. Buffalo's grain elevators and flour mills are the biggest in the world. A great deal of the wheat harvested in the central plains of the United States and Canada is shipped eastward across the Great Lakes. Half of it is brought to Buffalo, where the grain is stored, milled, and finally distributed. The making of flour is almost entirely a mechanical process. Machines remove impurities from the grain, separate the husks from the kernels, and grind the wheat into flour. They sift the refined flour into sacks and even sew up the bags. Flour made at Buffalo is sent on freight trains and ships to the markets of North America and the rest of the world. Another of Buffalo's big industries is the making of iron and steel. The manufacture of iron and steel is possible only if a plentiful supply of iron ore, coke, and limestone can be obtained. Iron ore can be brought cheaply to Buffalo by boat across the Great Lakes. From Steve, the Sea Scouts learn how iron ore is obtained. The iron mines are across the lakes, 1,000 miles from Buffalo, at the western end of Lake Superior in the section of Minnesota known as the Mesabi Range. Mesabi is an Indian word meaning giant. The Mesabi Range supplies more than half of all the iron ore mined in the United States each year. This ore is used to make iron and steel, which are the important basic materials for all industry. The ore, which lies close to the surface of the ground, is loosened by blasting. Sticks of dynamite are lowered into blast holes that have been drilled for them. Iron ore is rock, which contains large quantities of iron. But when it comes out of the ground, it just looks like big lumps of rusty earth. The ore is handled mainly by mechanical means. Trucks dump their loads through a trapdoor into a crushing machine. Then a long conveyor belt carries the crushed ore to freight cars. Trains take the ore from the Mesabi Range to Duluth, an important port at the western end of Lake Superior. The tracks run onto a trestle, and the trains stop directly over the loading docks. The ore drops through chutes into the holds of the ship. This method makes it possible to load large freighters within only an hour. Although the Great Lakes are bodies of fresh water, they are actually like inland seas. The Great Lakes do not have tides, but are often stormy and rough. Except during the cold winter months when the water freezes in the Great Lakes, hundreds of vessels ply the shipping lanes. Sailing on the Great Lakes is not much different from sailing on the ocean. The lake boats are out of sight of land for hours at a time. Their navigators use the sun and stars to determine the ship's position. The captain of a freighter on the Great Lakes is responsible for the safety of his ship, the same as the master of an ocean vessel. Like saltwater sailors, the crews keep the lake boats in good order. Many of these same men work on ocean-going vessels during the winter. Shipping on lake boats is one of the most efficient and least expensive forms of transportation in the country. Between the ports of Duluth and Buffalo, ships cross Lake Superior, Lake Huron, and Lake Erie. The 1,000-mile voyage takes 4 days. The link between Lake Superior and Lake Huron is the Sioux Canal. In this canal, boats are raised or lowered from the level of one lake to the level of the other. The deck crews get ready as the ship approaches the lock, which is a section of the canal that can be made watertight. When the boat is inside the lock, deckhands go ashore to handle lines and fenders. The water level in Lake Superior is 21 feet higher than that of Lake Huron. When a ship enters the Sioux Canal from Lake Superior, the water level in the lock is the same as that in the lake. After the gate has been closed behind the ship, water is let out of the lock. Finally, when the water inside has dropped to the level of Lake Huron, the gate is opened ahead of the ship, which can then continue on its journey. Each year, this small waterway handles more traffic than the Panama and Suez canals. Near the Sioux Canal, the shore of Canada is not far from that of the United States. Farther east, at Detroit, the shores of the two countries are linked by a bridge. A freighter loaded with iron ore makes the voyage from Duluth to Buffalo in about 4 days. Steve explains to the scouts that freighters remain in port as short a time as possible. At Buffalo, they unload rapidly and then return to Duluth for another cargo of ore. The ore boats make so many trips back and forth that the captains know the crew of the lighthouse. As the ships go by, greetings are usually exchanged. Inside the harbor, the freighters bringing ore tie up at docks close to iron and steel plants. Giant cranes are used to unload the ships. The engineer who controls the crane sits in a cab inside the moving arm.
Bring her up!
This complicated piece of equipment, like the other large machinery used in making steel, requires skilled operators. One crane lifts 17 tons in each bite. In half a day, it can transfer as much as 10,000 tons of ore from the holds of the ship to the stockpiles of the plant. As the ore is needed, other cranes move it from the stockpiles to skip cars, which carry it to the tops of the blast furnaces. In the blast furnaces, iron is made. To the ore is added limestone, which has been brought from northern Michigan by ship. Coke is also added. Coke is made from coal, which comes by train from the Pennsylvania coal fields. Coke is made by heating coal in great ovens. After certain gases have been driven off, what remains in the ovens is called coke. Coke has been found to be the best fuel to use in blast furnaces. The hot coke is dumped from the ovens into a freight car, which carries it a short distance to the quenching shed. Skip cars carry loads of iron ore, limestone, and coke to the tops of the blast furnaces. In these towering ovens, the ore is melted under tremendous heat. The limestone in the mixture removes the impurities of the ore, while the burning coke keeps a steady high temperature. The pure molten iron sinks to the bottom of the furnace and is drawn off into molds which are called pigs. Iron molded in this way is called pig iron. Steel is iron which has been refined and strengthened by the addition of other minerals. The white-hot liquid metal is poured into molds. When the metal cools, it hardens into blocks. These steel blocks are called ingots. Steel is stronger than iron, yet the metal of these ingots can be shaped to fit many needs. In the rolling mill, the ingots of steel are reheated and softened. Then the metal is sent back and forth through heavy machines which gradually work it into bars, strips, and sheets. Even with all the machinery, many delicate and dangerous jobs in steel making must be done by men. The mills of Buffalo provide part of the steel which is a basic material for our country's industries. At the lighthouse with Tom and Steve, the Sea Scouts review what they have learned during their visit. They have seen for themselves how ships bring the raw materials of the Great Lakes region to the harbor of Buffalo. They know that hydroelectric power made at Niagara Falls nearby supplies the mills and factories of Buffalo, which turn raw materials into manufactured goods for shipment to all parts of North America. A launch takes the Sea Scouts back across the harbor toward their homes in the city of Buffalo. At this industrial lake port, many important land and water routes cross, linking the eastern United States with the Midwest and the entire region around the 5 Great Lakes.
That Sea Scout had a tattoo. It's rare that you see tattoos in our films, for many reasons. Usually the people in the Navy had tattoos, but that's about it. And they would oftentimes cover it up. So anyways, that series, Earth and Its Peoples, I have a couple of those, both in my collection and then also part of the Prelinger collection and also part of the Orgone collection. So we will probably watch more of these. This is is this Lutheran or Presbyterian? I can't remember. But it features someone you know. Destination Unknown. Enjoy.
Mr. Wilson, please. Hello, Hal? Earl Barker. Yeah, they're both here now. Werner got here about 10 minutes ago, and Hoxley just drove up in a cab. They haven't let on they know each other. No, they won't be sitting together. I watched them check in for their seats. Yeah, I guess so. I suppose you still want me to ride the plane over to Frankfurt. Okay. I'll let the military intelligence boys take over there. Tell them I'm ticketed as E.W. Barker. Sure, I can see them both from here.
Your attention, please. TWA Flight 704 to London and Frankfurt is now ready for loading at Gate 34. All aboard, please.
Thank you. We might as well get acquainted right now. I'm Earl Barker, technical advisor to the Air Force, data processing.
Nice to know you, Mr. Barker. I'm Pastor Martin, and I'm flying first class for the first time in my life. One of our board members bought the ticket for me, and he wouldn't let me argue.
I'd fly economy class myself if I had to pay for my own ticket. And I think most of the other people on this flight feel the same way.
Good morning. This is your hostess, Miss Hessler, speaking. Welcome aboard Flight 704 to Frankfurt, with stops in Montreal and London. Luncheon will be served upon reaching our cruising altitude. Please fasten your seatbelts and observe the no smoking sign. Thank you. fasten your seatbelt more tightly. It's for your own safety and comfort.
I'm sorry.
Have you flown with us before?
No, this is my first trip to Europe.
Oh, I hope you'll enjoy it.
I hope so, too.
Your ticket says Frankfurt. Will you be visiting other German cities?
Just Wiesbaden at present. My company's building a reactor there.
Reactor?
It's for making electricity by nuclear energy instead of coal or gas. We're installing several in Germany, kind of a pilot program.
Yes, I read about it. But isn't power from a reactor more expensive?
It's getting cheaper. Excuse me, sir. Are you finished with this newspaper? Help yourself. No regrets?
None.
Thought you looked kind of unhappy when we took off.
It isn't a happy moment to realize you may never see your own city again. Even if you are leaving because you want to.
You'll see San Francisco again. You'll see it when the world's a far happier place than it is today.
I believe that, too. Are you sure we should be talking like this?
We're underway now. Passengers look like a humdrum bourgeois lot. When you disappear quietly behind what these fools call the Iron Curtain, there may be some questions asked of your fellow passengers on this flight. As a lawyer, I'm used to answering and asking questions. I'll say that I encountered you at certain social functions in the city. We had a nice, innocuous, non-political chat. We'll talk more in the Montreal airport. Thank you for the newspaper, Mr. Werner.
More coffee, sir?
Thank you.
Feel better now?
I felt fine all along.
I thought you looked sort of sad to leave San Francisco. But Lisa says it's just in account of the party.
I don't understand.
Your beau voyage party. Lisa thinks everyone leaving San Francisco must have a party.
Well, I didn't. Maybe I should have.
You'll have many parties in Wiesbaden. It's a happy city. Lovely, too. Though not as lovely as Berlin.
You're from Berlin?
Yes.
West Berlin, I suppose.
No, I'm from East Berlin. Good afternoon. Captain Byrne has asked me to announce that our altitude is 31,000 feet and our speed 605 miles an hour. We will arrive in Montreal in approximately 1 hour and a half. Thank you.
I've never been in Montreal. Wish we were stopping there longer.
Now, it's a fine old city. Maybe you'll have a chance to stop there on your way back.
Well, I imagine I'll be anxious to get home then. 3 weeks is the longest I've ever been away from my church. I really didn't want to go at first, but my congregation insisted. They even asked me to prepare a slide lecture series on the historic churches of northern Germany. Perhaps it'll be something worthwhile to share with our young people.
Why do you suppose young people would be interested in churches built so long ago? Most of them, as I recall, were rather plain churches. Not like the big cathedrals.
I felt that the young people would be most interested of all in those plain old churches. You know, those old churches have a powerful story to tell of the true revolution that can happen in the human mind and spirit. We sometimes forget this and overlook the tremendous possibilities of a truly Christian revolution, and the communists gain by our default. I believe that the young people of East Germany today could find more revolutionary insights in the Christian faith than they could ever hope to discover in the teachings of Marx and Lenin. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to give you a sermon.
No. I wish you could get on the intercom and give that sermon to everyone on this plane.
Why did you leave East Germany?
Because I couldn't find there what I was looking for.
What were you looking for?
Perhaps the same thing you are looking for or have been fortunate enough to find. I want a chance to give meaning to my life.
Have you found it? Here?
No. But at least I found the freedom to look, to doubt, to ask questions.
What were the questions you could not ask in East Germany?
Mostly the questions beginning with why. Like, why should all the laws of social evolution suddenly stop working when the communists took power? Or why should we assume that there is no spiritual side to man's nature, simply because we cannot measure it with one of our 5 known senses? Students must ask these questions, Mr. Werner, or they would be memorizing, not learning.
Don't you think that sooner or later, we all have to stop asking questions and find something to believe in?
Of course. But if the belief is right, questioning will only make it stronger. That's the way I feel, and perhaps you too, about God. The more you think and question, the more sure you become of your faith in him.
I understand that in East Germany, there's freedom to believe or not to believe.
You'll hear talk of such freedom, but you won't find it anywhere. My brother lost his privileges of attending the university when he quoted Einstein in a mathematics class.
I've read Soviet scientific papers that quoted Einstein.
Einstein said that God is responsible for the supreme order in the universe, that he leaves nothing to chance. My brother repeated that during a discussion on laws of probability. He also reminded his teacher that Einstein said God does not play at dice. 2 days later, his scholarship was canceled. I'm sorry. We have to get ready for the landing in Montreal.
Frankly, I was a little surprised at what she said about the lack of intellectual freedom in East Berlin.
I can see our charming young hostess has what might be called characteristic German social democratic attitude. Social democrats, you may recall, sat around asking themselves questions and answering them to their own satisfaction while Hitler was rising to power. It's a typical liberal approach.
Oh, I know that. The point is, if it's true...
Just think of all the debates that are going on this very moment in the coffee houses of the North Beach. If history were in their hands, they'd still be talking about fallout while the imperialists were starting a nuclear war. But you and other thinking people like you are different.
You're willing to do something about your convictions instead of endlessly debating whether or not you have any. By devoting your atomic knowledge to the peaceful scientific goals of the Soviet Union, you're taking the only road that leads to the future. The only other alternative is the one that you've already rejected. That is, continuing to allow your knowledge to be exploited for private profit and ultimately war against mankind.
I know. I've had enough of that.
You'll be happy in Moscow, Paul. I only wish I could be going there with you.
I wish you could too, Dick. You've been a wonderful help and an inspiration to me. I knew I was groping for something, but I never could have found it without you and our other friends.
I'm proud of you. We're all proud of you.
I only hope I'm strong enough for what I'm trying to do.
You are.
Your attention, please. TWA Flight 704 to London and Frankfurt is now...
Well, I guess it's time to be getting back to the plane. 6 more hours and we'll be over the pond. Try to get some sleep tonight, Paul. I wouldn't let our stewardess start any more conversations. You can't tell what she's trying to find out and for whom.
You want to sleep?
I'm not sleepy.
You're still asking questions too, aren't you?
Maybe. But I've found the answers that make the most sense to me.
But you don't seem to be happy with them.
Do we have to be hedonists?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. You have another word? Or the German word?
I was trying to ask whether it's necessary for us to find happiness in everything we do.
Of course not. But we have to have some faith in what we do or believe.
Studying in East Berlin? What were you trying to do?
You would be surprised.
I doubt it.
I wanted to be a teacher of music.
What are you doing riding these planes?
After my brother and I escaped, we found out he had leukemia. And now I have to earn for two.
I'm very sorry.
Will all your business be in Wiesbaden?
I'm not sure.
Your ticket says Frankfurt. But in many ways, I think you have the same destination I have.
What's that?
Destination Unbekannt.
Unbekannt?
Destination unknown.
Sleep much?
Ooh, better than I expected. How about you?
I could sure use about 8 hours in a bed. Remember that little sermon you preached to me yesterday? The one I wanted to put on the intercom?
Mm-hmm. And if you'll talk to the captain, I'll be happy to give it before breakfast.
I'm serious. I can't spell it out for you. But the Air Force is not exactly the branch of the government I work for. There's a young man on this plane that might or might not be planning to go over to the communists. You might say that right now, in his own mind, his future is unbekannt, if you know what I mean. If I could arrange it, would you be willing to talk to him?
I'll do what I can.
Young lady, there are many things I can't tell you, and some things I don't have to tell you, but I need your help. A certain person's destination may be even more unbekannt than you know, but maybe he's not really so sure that he wants to go there. Now, as you know, the gentleman seated next to me happens to be a pastor, and he has some pretty solid ideas on destinations in general and communism in particular. If you'll invite the young man that you've been talking to come up here to the lounge and leave him alone for a little while, maybe we can do him some good.
I'll try. Could I please see you in the lounge for just a moment?
We're busy.
I would appreciate it.
I'll be right back.
Sit down.
What the?
Sit down. I suppose you'll be getting off in London.
Yes, I suppose so.
I imagine you'll want to take the first plane back home.
Just thinking the same thing myself.
Mr. Werner, please speak to this man. Maybe he knows what you're looking for.
I'm Pastor Martin. I'd like to help you if I can. The gentleman seated next to me asked me to talk with you. He's a government man. And I think he has a pretty good idea of what you may be planning to do. But he's got a lot of human understanding, too.
I don't know what this is all about.
Well, for the sake of discussion, let's assume that you're looking for something. I have a feeling that you may not have to travel nearly as far as you think to find it.
Oh.
Now, I'll not argue about communism as a political philosophy. I'm sure there are those who can do that much better than I. As a Christian pastor, I'm more concerned about the basic ideology of communism. Tell me, young man, are you a member of any church?
No, not a member, but I've been a number of times.
And I don't suppose I have to tell you that the basic tenets of atheistic communism and the cherished beliefs of Christianity are completely opposed to each other, with no hope of compromise, no hope of accommodation.
Well, whenever they disagree, I'm willing to string along with communism.
With its atheism, with its dialectical materialism. Our country was founded by Christian pioneers, men and women of deep Christian convictions, whose whole life was based on a personal belief in God. It was from their belief, which they passed on to their children, that we have derived our spiritual values. It was from our belief in God that all our precious liberties sprang. Freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of worship, the freedom of the mind to venture into the unknown and develop worthwhile sciences such as yours. Above all, the dignity and worth of the individual in the sight of God. All of these priceless liberties, without which I'm sure you wouldn't want to live a moment, have been developed in a country which believes in God and in man as having been created in God's image.
Look, I don't want to argue these things. As for God, it's all right for you to believe in an idea like that. But as for me, I don't need any crutches.
Of course, I'm not willing to agree that God is a crutch. But since you've used the word, I'll readily admit that I've often found comfort in leaning on him. And believe me, young man, the day will come when you'll be glad to lean on him. I never travel without a New Testament in my pocket. This little book means more to me than my whole library. And do you know why? Because it gives me the answers to the deepest questions of life. For me, there's no destination unbekannt, no destination unknown. I know exactly where I'm going. Jesus Christ has told me that. As God's Son, he died for me to make possible a brand new life. A life of peace, of love, of purpose. Above all, a life which has its ultimate end, its ultimate destination, in the presence of God, my Maker. Of these things, I am sure. Do you think you'll find these things where you're going? Before you reject the things I've said, have the courage to face them squarely. There's a paperclip on the page of that testament where I was reading a little while ago. I suggest that you begin reading there.
Said Jesus unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul?
So we bring to a close another episode of This is the Life. We sincerely hope that you have been spiritually benefited by the message which it brought. If you would like to know more about the Christian gospel and what it can mean to you, why not write for this helpful booklet? It is called The Life That Counts. It answers such questions as, how can I find peace with God? How can I face the future unafraid? How can I find strength to meet the problems of each new day? Surely a booklet you and the members of your family will want to read again and again. For your free copy of The Life That Counts, just write to This is the Life, St. Louis 2, Missouri. Canadian viewers may write to This is the Life, Kitchener, Ontario, or Edmonton, Alberta. The Life That Counts is available free of charge, also in Braille for the blind. Write for your copy today. If you have a spiritual problem and no one to advise you, This is the Life will be happy to give you the counsel of God's Word.
This program has been presented by the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, with congregations throughout the United States and Canada, and is dedicated to the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God and Savior of the world.
Leonard Nimoy. He was in a lot of TV shows at that point. I looked him up on IMDb, and they do credit this in his IMDb filmography. So the director, Edward Dew, did two other films that I've shown. One is Should I Marry Outside My Faith? And the other was Turn the Other Cheek. Both of those were family film productions, and he did quite a few of those. He also directed quite a few episodes of This Is the Life, of which I have. And we'll be watching more of those, but I figured you wanted to get your Spock on. So there's Leonard with those nice glasses. Anyways, thanks for joining us today. We ran a little long, but I hope that was okay. If you like what you saw, you could hit the thumbs up. Even if you've hit it recently, hit it again. You can also hit notifications and subscriptions and all that stuff. But thanks for commenting. You can also donate via the Super Thanks button. That's a great way to support us as we buy more hard drives to capture all of the films that we're scanning, but also pay rent on storage spaces, etc., etc. You can also go to patreon.com/avgeeks or ko-fi.com/avgeeks. Those are other great ways to support us. Also, if you are in the Triangle area, I'll be doing a show at the Alamo Draft House on November 18th called Don't Try This at Home. And it's going to be in one of the big theaters. This is a big experiment to see if I can fill one of the big theaters, which is roughly, 90 some people. I feel like I can get 90 some people to come, especially if you come. So there is that. Tomorrow's Friday? Is that right? I don't know what today. Yeah, Thursday. Okay, tomorrow, Friday. And it's the end of my favorite month, which is a bummer. But there you go. Anyways, everybody have a great rest of your day. I hope it's sunny where you are. And we will see you tomorrow. Take care.